Welcome to Deepwater Legends, guys. Thank you for tuning in. Today we have a special guest, Captain Greg from Fisherman's headquarters in New Jersey. Welcome to the show, Greg. How are you doing tonight?
Doing great, guys. Thanks for having me. Good evening.
Thanks for coming on. Do you mind giving our listeners and our viewers a little insight to what you do and what you specialize in?
Absolutely. So my name's Captain Greg Kudnick. I'm a light tackle guide at a Barnegat Light located in Long Beach Island. That's New Jersey. I also have a family business, Fisherman's headquarters, retail bait and tackle shop. We're located also in Long Beach Island. Town is called Ship Bottom. For anybody that's not aware of the area, basically New Jersey has sort of like a number of barrier islands. We're sort of central South Jersey. Um, I guess South Central Jersey is the best way to say it. Long Beach Island's 18-mile long island. We got Barnegat Bay. North end is Barnegat Light. South end is Holgate. So we have two inlets. We've got one of the oldest white marlin tournaments in the world, Beach Haven White Marlin Invitational. We have some tuna tournaments in the area. Do a lot of striped bass, inshore fishing, fluke fishing. Got a big commercial fishery, out of Barnegat Light, scallopers, longliners, draggers, whatnot. We got a whole bunch of fishing. So it's a fishy area. Basically, I run, like I said, light tackle guide service, and also I manage the tackle shop. Sort of a jack of all trades, master of none, and stoked to be here to talk fishing with you guys.
Well, thank you again for coming on. I would hardly call you a master of none. I've been personally fishing with you, and I mean, your nickname might as well be the Flounder Pounder. We went out and just nonstop action. I mean, I'm telling you, I never caught so many inshore fish in a short amount of time like that. I think you, me, and Dante went out for maybe 2 hours, and we had a whole limit of keepers. We were barely offshore and just nonstop action all day. Also, your shop is tremendous. You guys have everything. I mean, you have stuff for inshore guys, you have stuff for offshore guys. I imagine you have fly fishing stuff. You guys have absolutely everything. It's available in store as well as online, and just a tremendous shop. And every time I have questions, I know Greg's the first guy I go to, like, hey, what's the spec on this or what's the spec on that? You're one of the best versed people in the industry, and it's absolutely a pleasure to have you on. Before we get into this, I want to announce the winner of our Magic Tail Outfitters giveaway. It is Hudson Sanford. Shoot me an email, Hudson, at deepwaterlegends at gmail.com. We'll get this sent over to you. I'll also shoot you a message as well. And thank you, everyone, for entering. We still have another giveaway going for our YouTube subscribers. That's going to be given away on May 4th. Make sure to subscribe. We'll pick a subscriber and send them some stuff as well. So, Greg, do you mind telling us a little bit about your charter?
Yeah, basically, I run a Parker 2520. It's a sport cabin. It's pretty awesome boat. I used to run a 21 center console, like light tackle guides. Used to do like one and two person trips. Transitioned about 5 years ago over to the 2520. Mostly still saying all inshore charters. I just really don't have too much time to be heading, say, midshore and offshore. But basically, mainly it's all focused around striped bass fishing, fluke fishing. Those are like really the two main species we have here inshore. Um, Also do some sea bass and tog fishing during that season. Do a little bit of weak fishing, some blowfish, some crabbing, some clamming, some of the odds and ends stuff there. But for the most part, it's all straight bass and fluke fishing. I do some fly trips. I'm one of the, I guess, few fly captains in the area. As far as trips go, I'm basically fishing, say, April, May, all the way through the, say, summer, and then I fish right to the end of the year, right around, I pull my boat right around Christmas time, the end of the year, and then in New Jersey, it's obviously cold, and January, February, March, there's not really much fishing boats, hung up and dry. So that's kind of the gig. Most of my fishing's cast and retrieving lures. Do a lot of say topwater fishing, light tackle fishing, jigging. I know when we fished, we did some. It was like a late season fluke fishing, so it's normally a good time to fish for them in September. Towards the end of the season, they can get pretty good. Do some light tackle jigging for fluke, for sea bass. Tog's definitely one of my favorite species, but like I said, most of my clients are requesting casting lures to striped bass or fly fishing for striped bass or in the summertime when the striped bass is a little bit slower, which I catch stripers all summer here in New Jersey, would be more fluke oriented.
Can you get a little bit more specific on what kind of lures you're throwing for the striped bass and the flounder?
Yeah, for sure. I think that most of the people that come on my boat, they have their own boat. So like being based at the tackle shop, I get a lot of customers that, and it's really happened more so in the last few years after COVID. Everybody bought new boats, right? And all these say new people from my area or people flock to the area from the cities during that whole COVID kind of, I don't want to say like exiting of the cities, but that's kind of what happened. And the LBI area where I'm at here just got flooded. People just were working remotely from here, and they were like, "Hey, we're on the island. We bought a house here, and we're buying a boat." Some big money comes in here from the city. So, with that said, people just started reaching out to me like, "Hey, we don't know what we're doing. We just bought a bunch of tackle from you. We just bought a boat from this other guy, and now we want to go like make it happen. Can you help us out?" So, um, I'll go on other people's boats, but I prefer if they jump on mine just because I like know where my stuff is. I got all my things figured out. It's like, come on, let me show you where I go, what I do, and then you can replicate it on your own. But to get to your question of lures, um, I fish mostly 7 foot rods, 7/6 rods, and 8 foot rods. So my lures kind of match up with those lengths and for casting purposes. And most of my stuff is like half to one, maybe up to 3, 4 ounces. So the SP Minnow from Daiwa, there's a 13 and there's a 15 millimeter. Those are, I'm sorry, centimeter. Those two are my primary like search baits. I fish a lot of bucktails as well, 1/2 ounce to 2 ounce bucktails. No live bait needed. There's a paddle tail, just a slender, long 5 inch or 7 inch, even 9 inch paddle tails, swim baits, whatever you're gonna call them. It doesn't have to be no live bait. It could be a bunch of other brands, but I've been using Ronzi's forever and storm shads, tsunami shads, stuff like that. We fish a lot of those. I fish a lot of spooks. I'm a huge fan of Yozuri. I fish a lot of different Yozuri stuff. They're twitch baits. I actually just came out with a brand new spook. I probably should have it. I should have brought it to show everybody. There's a brand new spook coming out. I got a sample maybe it was March. Yeah, I think that's Saltwater Expo. Saltwater Expo. The man from Yozuri brought it from Florida and showed it to me. And when I looked at it, my eyes exploded. And he's like, "Oh, here, it's actually for you." So I got a couple of them. I fished the dock spooks. If you guys are familiar with them, Muskie Mania, the dock. It's a big old spook. Fish a lot of them for stripers. Some custom wood lures. And I mean, if you saw my boxes and milk crates, it's sort of like my office. There's like stuff everywhere in my shed. I've got so much tackle, like most other people do, probably too. It's just I got lures out the yin yang. But I basically have a cooler in my boat, and it's got a milk crate with all these tubes, and I just got it stacked with plugs. I wish I had a photo to show you, but it's like loaded. And then I have another cooler inside my quote unquote cabin that's got just again lures everywhere, all in tubes. So I got like massive amounts of lures and tubes. And I can just grab them and go, and I rig up both rods with a clip, and we just basically show up and fish structure, fish rips, fish sod banks, or bait piles or birds, and we just kind of cast into them. And you're basically kind of listening to me saying, "Hey, man, throw something up top," or "Hey, I'm marking them down deep, put a shad on or a jig, or fish it slower." And sometimes it happens. Sometimes I gotta kind of work along with them, and we put it together and have fun.
So you're usually a mojo guy as well?
So I don't want to say no. I do fish mojos. So like right now, if we were to head out today, there's fish showing up to our area. The water's just getting around the 50-degree mark. Maybe it's a couple degrees and more. Certain areas might be a couple degrees less. But when it hits 48 to 50 in New Jersey, we start getting a little bit of a bite going on. It always happens in the back bay, and I'm kind of pointing this way because the bay is a block through those windows, and then the ocean's a block up, through this wall. The bay starts up in March, April for us. Really gets going good in April, and then in May it really starts grinding on all cylinders out in the ocean. And like just this week, last 2 3 days have been really good for us. Um, but when they're spread out early season, the mojos trolling is an effective way to find fish or bunker spoons. You'll go out in a boat and you'll mark a fish, a fish, a fish. And it's like, dude, you can drift on that for hours, and you maybe get a bite or two. You could fish the flutter spoons. You could fish live baits if you can get them. The bunker aren't potted up here locally right now. Raritan Bay, different story. There's gannets everywhere. There's bunker potted up. There's fish moving into spawn, fish moving out that already spawned, and you got a lot of different things going up there. It's not like that here. We've got fish that are more or less roaming the area. They're not really hunkered down in one area or another. There's certain areas that you can fish, different channels, say main thoroughfares that would get you from point A to point B, say the open bay to the inlet or the inlet to the ocean. And you can kind of pick and choose in those, areas. Hey, let me fish these three spots, and I'll look at the tide, I'll look at the wind, and I'll try to, you know, strategically say, hey, I want to be here this part of the day, or be here at this part of the trip, and then okay, our trip's over, and I can kind of bounce around. That's kind of how I plan my day, based around what I got for current, which way the water's moving. Obviously, temperature matters big time in the spring right now. Outgoing tide is key. You get the incoming cold water from the ocean; it just shuts a bite off like a light switch. Um, but yeah, that's basically it. But when it's slow, to answer your question, we pull mojos, we pull bunker spoons, umbrella rigs. But it's like, I don't want to say plan B. It's probably even further down. Like, I don't want to say Z, but it's somewhere in the middle of A and Z.
Do
Most of
you
the time, plan Z is just having a cocktail and calling it a day.
you catching something? Do you think color plays an important role when targeting this species of fish? The color of what you're throwing, or
I think color matters more, in my opinion, on really, really clear days. For me, natural colors, more chromes and like a dark with shaded like say olives and blues, and more of a natural white or silver belly. I think those natural patterns, and chromes especially are more effective for me on sunny days, clear water days as well. I can say at nighttime, I feel that colors matter. I do very well on these red and black jigs at night. Also white. Um, I'm not the biggest color snob. I will say that, like I mentioned, I have a cooler full of lures, and if something's not working, I switch up pretty regularly. Um, but I will say if the water's really really dirty, I tend to fish chartreuse. I
okay,
also found that pink. I have like some pink over white. There's a Yozuri Mag Darter that's a pink side. It's got like a silver kind of belly, pink side and back. I've done good with that in murky water, and also the chartreuse. Some people call it the Jersey Killer. In New Jersey, we get rains a lot in the spring. The water gets muddy. It's brown. It's say tainted, stained, and we get a lot of like crap brown water. Not even like say like the teak color of your table. I'm not talking like a tannic water or brackish water. I'm talking like chocolate milk brown. Um, we get it sometimes. We get hard south winds and a swell. It gets really. You could look up like Long Beach Island, like big surf. Sometimes we get some like big tube and surf up at the beach, and the water's chocolate milk. And those times the fish are here, it just you almost have to knock them on the head, with a bait to get them to feed, or a pencil popper splashing on the top. Sometimes or a spook, you'll raise a fish on those say dirty water days. But yeah, without getting too far into the weeds for color, I would say chartreuse when it's muddy, it's dark. I do fish all black at night. If I've got some moon, I'll start fishing some other colors like an all yellow. I've done really well at night on some moonlight. I do a lot of fishing at night, and also just a straight bone, all white or straight bone white, like a ivoryish color. If somebody doesn't know what a bone color is, yeah.
And with fluke season coming up, I believe Sunday, right? What kind of advice do you have for the anglers on what kind of lures are you looking forward to using this year? What sizes? What depths are you looking for first? Like as soon as the season kicks off to really get the fish. How can they hone in better?
Right. So I already mentioned the outgoing tide. That's important. You're definitely going to want to focus on outgoing tide for the warmer water temperatures. I'll go back a little bit and say that I was up my boat today redoing some ropes, and one of the commercial draggers was just riding his bike by and stopped by. Tim Brindley, he's a fluke dragger. He's been up in Barnegat Light catching fluke for years, And he kind of put a little birdie out there that, hey man, you should go check out the ridge. I'm like, ridge? What? Like, I'm fishing the back bay, man, the warmest water I can find. You want me to go 15 miles offshore? I mean, that's where the tuna were this fall. You want me to go 15 miles offshore to go look for fluke right now? Like, you know, okay. He's like, dude, they're stacked in there in the early season when they're coming from offshore. So anybody doesn't know what fluke do, summer flounder, or we call them fluke, they hang on the outer continental shelf in the cold winters, and then they move in. They move from east to west. They come inshore in our spring and summer, and they hang around our bays all summer long, and then they head back out in the fall. Like when you and I were fishing, Nate, we were out there in the fall. All those fish were leaving, so we were fishing wrecks and structure just outside the inlet. So as all these fish are exiting the bays, they have to go through Barnegat Inlet, and that's where my boat is. So I'm like, okay, if here's the funnel, here's where they all have to be. They can only go so far out, and then once they get too far, they start spreading to East Jabip. Um, but right now, what he was saying is these fish are coming in, and him as a dragger, he's like, dude, you want to be fishing some of these more prominent areas that you're fishing in the fall when they're leaving, but further offshore, and see if you can follow them in. So that was kind of advice he gave me that I never really fished out there early season. I'm always in the bay. Normally 4th of July is when I start looking out in the ocean for fluke. This past summer we had really cold water, so I really didn't fish out there until like mid-August. And I was kind of slow when I first started going, but mid late August and all September is good for me. Um, but to dive back to your question, for someone in New Jersey that's going to be fluke fishing opening day or opening week or the first month or 2 months, um, the back bays are awesome. I like to fish the main channels, the main arteries, and like the subsequent, say, structure off of those. So like the adjacent little fingers, little flats and bowls. The main channels are awesome, and I will focus on them now first month or so. Once Memorial Day comes along, New Jersey's waterways get crazy, and 4th of July, it's like beyond crazy. It's bumper boats. You have um, just booze cruisers, race boats, people that are in a little skiff, rental boats, charter captains. You got big boys heading offshore, the sporties to go tuna fishing, and it's like, dude, they all have to co-mingle in a channel that's 30 feet wide. Your
And boats hitting sandbars.
boats are smoking sandbars. You see
Oh, yeah, Barnegat's known for that, man. They have the most shifting sandbars of any place I've ever been.
we got sandbars in the middle of the Mark Channel. It's like, why'd you guys put these buoys here? Like it's unbelievable. And then they change the channels without telling anybody. It's hilarious. But to give somebody a valid piece of information is fish those main channels, fish the outgoing tide, and I would fish two things. It's gonna be live minnows and gulp. If the bite is slow and the water's cold, gulp's awesome, but it sucks when the water's cold and the bite's slow. Live minnows are gonna get a bite. I would also say if you can get them cheddar crabs, I've done really good with cheddar crabs early season, and I do good up to about 4th of July with cheddar crabs. Um, Normally, when the water gets really warm, the fish get really active, and you're just kind of wasting your time with fish and spearing or cheddar crab or live minnows. You drop a bait and they're just pecking it. The blowfish are tearing you up. There's all sorts of other critters around. The smaller species, little spot or pecking at you. I fish gulp, and I fish a jig, and I fish real quick. I'm keeping active, and I fish the bottom. Sometimes it's only down there for a minute. I'll bring it up and I'll pitch it up, and I'll work it back, work it back, work it back. And once I start getting scoped out, I pitch it up. Some people might go up to a heavier weight jig. They might go and say, hey, why are you fishing a half ounce? Why are you fishing a quarter ounce or a 3/4? Why aren't you fishing, ounce and a half or two? Because I can just drag a two. You get their lines out the back of the boat, and they're just dragging it and just kind of jigging every once in a while. And they're just catching nothing but weed, man. And really, I feel like these fish are like, they'll chase it, they'll peck at it, and they'll turn off and they'll leave. And if you cast and bring it back and forth, and you kind of keep more active, I feel it makes them commit more. You know, I feel like they get more focused and have to commit quicker to it. That's just what I do. I fish a single jig. Sometimes I'll fish a teaser. If I'm trying to fish the lightest, smallest jig possible, I get rid of that teaser. And some people think I'm crazy. I go down to like 15-pound leader. I'm using little 10-pound fluorocarbon. Sorry, 10-pound braid, Spectra braid. to 15-pound fluorocarbon, and it's just direct to a jig. You don't need any kind of special rig, no bells and whistles, floats and spinners and beads, none of that hogwash, no jewelry. Just a jig, done deal.
And what kind of jigs are you using generally? Using like Hoochies or
I really like the kill shots, Magic Tail kill shots. It's a obviously there's different styles. Some might be like, "What are you using that heavy hook, that monster?" Like he makes a really diesel. When I say he, Dante at Magic Tail makes a really heavy hook for tuna fishing, right? For casting, say baits, or some people are probably even in Florida catching tarpon on them and redfish and catch a lot of different stuff on them. I mean, we ship the things all around, but I use his black nickel hook. There's a short shank one. It fits really nice on a 5-inch gulp grub, and I like the gulp 5-inch personally. The jigging grub. It's like a long, slender, more tubular with the curl tail, not like the swimming mullet. That's more of a chubby bait. I like that 5-inch, the 5-inch grub. That's my favorite on that. I think it's a 5.0 hook. I'm pretty sure his jig head has the 5.0 hook. He also makes a 7.0 hook, but I think that's a little too big for the 5-inch bait. And those heads are awesome. I also feel that that head, if you're familiar with it, it's got a flat side, right?
Mhm.
I feel like it actually puts that hook down on its side a little bit, and I don't want to get like too far into the weeds with this, but there was a point in time where you might know the cast net company Betts. Betts owns also Billy Boy, which makes like floats, these jig heads, and all sorts of weird stuff for maybe freshwater people. Maybe it's not so weird, but some of the stuff I look at, I'm like, what is this stuff? Weird floats, man. Stuff we don't use, but I'm sure they use in the lakes and rivers and whatever else. But they made this jig head where the eye was up like a normal head, and you normally see the hook this way, right? We're talking like in
Mhm.
line, like right. I hope I make this.
Yeah.
They turn it sideways, so the eye is this way. So the hook's line sideways. And if you look at a fluke's mouth isn't like this, like a striped bass. A fluke's mouth sideways, but they're flat. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So if you look at a fluke and you put that jig head like that, it makes sense. So I feel that's one of the reasons why that jig head is effective for me. Um, I really just got it personally because it's an affordable jig head with a really good hook, and it gulp slips on there nice and it holds good on the little barbed collar. It's simple. I mean, that's why I started fishing it. But then I was like, wow, these are like really effective. It's super simple, and I can do different stuff with it. Um, you did mention hoochies. I do fish hoochies sometimes. But going back to what I was saying, I try to scale down for the least amount of resistance through the water so I can fish a lighter rod, a lighter line, lighter jig, and still be able to be in contact with that bottom. Because for anyone who doesn't know about fluke or bottom, they're benthic species. They live on the bottom. Yeah, they get up. Yeah, they'll get aggressive and they'll attack. But for the most part, they're laying on bottom, and they might get up and move in the current. They might stage up at different spots, but a lot of times it's a blanket of those fish, a whole school of them. They're just laid up, and then you kind of come through them, balance a jig, and they get they get a little spicy and they start looking around, and then all of a sudden the bite turns on for a certain window. It might be a half-hour window of the tide, and then it's like bang, 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 bang. And for me to keep it simplistic and lightweight and just have a simple jig head, sometimes I'll fish a teaser with a small minnow, a real small hook, a number 1.0 hook with a big chubby minnow. When I say big chubby minnow, it's like our big minnows are like the size of my thumb. People might like Florida might have big minnows. They whatever cigar minnows. We're not talking about those things. We're not talking about sardines. Like just a mummy chub. It's what they're called here. Just a minnow, and put just a naked hook minnow grub down below. You can't get any better. It's awesome.
And I know one of the biggest game changers for me personally when I fish the bottom and when we were with you, we relied on it heavily was your Rodan. I have a Rodan on my boat. You have one on yours. They just work tremendously. And I know you guys are an authorized repair center for Rodan as well. Are you guys also a dealer as well?
Yeah, yeah. I think we're the largest dealer in New Jersey. I think that's why they put me, I guess, put me in for the service center. At the shop, everything we sell, we kind of service. So we do a lot of real service. We're a Van Stall Warranty Center. We're a Penn Reels Warranty Center. We've been a Penn Reels Warranty Center for like 40, 50 years. We service everything we sell, right? We fix rods, we fix reels. So the whole trolling motor craze, I saw it coming in hot to New Jersey. I mean, obviously, someone from down south, right? The southeast, you guys have been using trolling motors for years. Um, yeah, there's been some saltwater anglers in New Jersey using trolling motors years ago, but you might see one here, one there. Let's say 10 years ago. The past, I'll just say 5 years. it's been like an explosion of trolling motors up here. And I was a dealer probably with Rodan. I think I'm going on like 6 years, maybe 7 years now. I just know that because my one little guy is 5 years old, and I think it was a couple years before he was born. So it's somewhere around 6, 7 years I've been a dealer with them. Um, I'm also fishing. I have one on my 21. I got one on my 25, and I use it all the time. I'm using it for fluke fishing to adjust my drifts. When we were fishing some structure in the ocean. I was using it more as a GPS anchor, to kind of position the boat over structure, a wreck. That one spot we fished was actually a really, really small piece that even if you're super good with double anchoring, you would have some struggle getting up in there. And even if you are awesome at double anchoring, it's still tough to be able to see a layout of a wreck, whether it's elongated or sometimes like a horseshoe that a part collapses, or a hull of a ship where it's steel over here, but the open side's over here, and you want to fish that specific side of that corner. It's tough, and when you get especially wind against tide, or you'll have no wind, and it's hard to anchor where the anchors don't set right. Got way too many years playing with double anchors, that's for sure. But it's just a game changer. It's awesome to adjust your drift on a day you have none, or if I'm trying to fish, say a channel that's north south, and all of a sudden you have a west wind, it's blowing you across the channel. Well, I can set my Rodan up in it's called track mode. It's basically you angle it to the compass heading you want it. I put it in manual first to get the speed. I angle to where I want it, hit track, and then no matter where that boat turns, that Rodan track mode stays into that wind, into that compass heading. So it will keep me kind of staying with that long channel, as opposed to like having to do 30 drifts back and forth and zigzag it. I just do like one long drift in that channel. And if I want to get closer to the edge, just hit up, 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 give a little more throttle, gets me closer to the edge, and I'll just push down, down, to slow me back so I can get right on the edge and I can work like that ledge of that channel. It's making sense to me in my head. I don't know if I'm explaining it right.
Oh,
Oh,
it's
it sounds
perfect.
perfect.
And I love how simple Rodan made it. Like, I know hooking mine up to the boat, it was like an hour and a half kind of thing. It wasn't, hey, I have to run this through electronics. I have to go learn all kinds of stuff for it. Like, it was like, hey, kind of just set it and forget it. You learn the remote control and you're good to go. I know with a lot of the other companies, I've been on boats that use a bunch of the other ones, and you're like going into the MFD and like messing with stuff and accidentally having to overlay it on other things, and my Rodan's just like, "Hey, just drop it, hit a button right where I want it." I certainly don't use it as much for, like, using it for tracks. 90% of the time, I'm just spot locking somewhere, whether it's in the channel or I'm over top a bait, I'm just hitting it to pause, or I'm over near a buoy and I wanna toss to some fish that are swimming around. It has been incredible so far, and the other trolling motors are great as well, they certainly do their work. But I personally have a Rodan, and I love it.
Yeah, I'll add to that every trolling motor is awesome when it works, but I'll also say that every trolling motor breaks. Like
Yes.
I've heard, because I'm a Rodan service center, I like fix people's problems, when they're broken. But I've had so many times. I was just out on a boat the other day. I don't want to mention his name, but he's jumping on your podcast sometime soon. And he's got a different brand, and we're out there. The thing's broken. You know what I mean? Doesn't work. But no one like people get like all hot and bothered. They get on social media on the forums and they blast. Rodan got fried for a long time on having some issues, but I'm confident, man. Somebody brings me a motor, I can get that thing shaken down and turned around and working in a very easy clip. Yeah, it might be an hour or two, or hey, I'm backed up. Like right now, you drop motor off. I have it done in a couple days. 3 4 days ago, it was probably a week turnaround. I had like 5 motors. Everybody pulled their boats out, and all of a sudden, they put them away wet. They're all salted up and corroded, rusty. It's like, dude, like you have stainless screws, you have aluminum, the base, you got plastic pieces, you have cast, you have machined metal. Like none of it jives with salt. Like you got to keep the stuff clean. But everything breaks, everything's fixable. But I think that fixing a Rodan is super simple. They're modular based, so I can simply change out the heart, the HCB. I can simply change out the brain, the MCB, the upper compass, lower compass. It's super simple. I think I know them like the back of my hand, but I think they're super simple to work on. My dad has a different brand. He's had it for a number of years. His breaks all the time. I have to take it to a guy to fix it because I don't get involved in it. But I will share May, right? We're in May right now, 2025. This month, Rodan shipping their new generation motors. They've been working on them for a number of years, and they are, I'll say, that the most powerful saltwater trolling motor on the market. Um, they're actually making a 48 volt, and they're making a 120-inch motor. I'm pretty sure about that. Let me double check that. They definitely make a 108-inch, but there's guys putting these things on 32, 36, 38 foot, even like 40-foot center consoles, these catamarans and stuff, like massive boats. Maybe you see it down your way.
John Azzato that was on here, I think 3 episodes ago, he has 2 of them on a 46-foot Young Brothers Down East boat, and it holds it no problem. He loves it. Game changer for sure.
Yeah, he saves so much time because you can fish a spot here, fish a spot there, move, boom. You would say he's not, not wasting the whole day pulling anchors.
Exactly, saves his back. And,
Up this quick little the Gen 5 motor that Eric from Rodan just sent me the other day. He just sent me a notice, was like, "Hey, bud, they're shipping." I'm like, "Awesome!" So I got some motors coming my way. I'm gonna be the first dealer in New Jersey to have them, so I'm stoked on that. And like I said, they've been working on this for a while. So their motor that's coming out now will compete with the best brands that have had them that just released theirs in the past year. This has been a long process, but to go,
and you guys do installs as well?
I don't. I don't do installs. So what I said is correct, dude. They're making 120-inch shafts, 108-inch shafts. I have a 96-inch shaft on my 25 footer, but yeah, 108, 120, and that, like I said, they're making a 48 volt. So like, dude, like the power and the thrust these things are putting out, um, and obviously the shaft length, it's tremendous. Like they're up in the game. Every generation that comes out.
And what's the shop's phone number quick? We'll throw it out there. If someone's listening, they're like, "I have to have this right now."
Yeah, 609-494-5739.
You heard it, guys. If you have to have this motor, which you probably do, call Greg. You can be the first in New Jersey or the Northeast with one. He's gonna have them any day now. Um, so now we're gonna jump into something exciting. There's one thing we haven't talked about yet is reels. And there's a company that has been tried and true for many years. I've used them back in the day, and they were known to last. They were affordable, they were great reels. Well, they're rebranding this year. They're coming out with a whole new saltwater line, and Greg happens to have them. He happens to be an expert in them. He asked if we could talk about them today, and I was like, "Absolutely." I remember using these things like 5, 10 years ago, and they still work perfect to this day, and it's a great way for people to get into the sport in an affordable manner and still be able to go out there and tackle the fish.
So if you want me to dive into it, since you probably want more detailed information, I'll kind of get into the weeds a little bit. Um, Everyone's probably heard of Penn, right? But I'm not here to talk about Penn. Um,
Penn International
yeah,
away.
I'm not here to talk about Penn. Um, there's actually some guys that left Penn and they jumped on with another brand and they kind of took what they were doing, their expertise in some things from running numbers to brand development to marketing to engineering and kind of rebranded and relaunched what I think is a pretty classic, solid brand in the saltwater industry. That's Quantum. So Quantum for a number of years made some awesome saltwater reels. I fished a lot of the Cabos and Bocas and the Smokes. Fished the Acurus bait casters. We were talking about fluke earlier for fluke in the back. Freshwater people might know Quantum as well. They had a pretty large, say, Quantum lineup of freshwater reels. We sold a ton of them in the shop too. They were one of our best selling reels for a number of years. The Bocas and Cabos were, two different price points, quality. They started actually using magnets and using magnetic, say, engineered or designs in the anchor reverses, and also they were using them in the bail systems way before it was kind of like a cool thing to do. They're also using some ceramic drag washers very very early in the game of things, and this is going back probably, I'm gonna guess 10 or 15 years possibly. Um, but basically, I was contacted by the boys that left Penn, and went to Quantum. Penn had a big shakeup, and they let go of the wrong guys basically, and those dudes came together as an army, and that's kind of what's going on right now. It's an army, and they're making some awesome stuff. They basically started out with two reels. I have a couple here. The Strive is, it starts at $100. It's $100 fishing reel, and you're probably like, "Hey man, I'm a saltwater angler. I fish quality tackle. $100 reel, dude. That's what you buy at Dick's or Walmart, you know." And no offense to anybody who shops at Dick's or Walmart, most of the stuff they have is more price point oriented. Maybe down your neck of the woods, I know a lot of people like in Florida, like Walmart's have a decked out, say, tackle selection. Up this way, every independent shop, the independent retailers are where you want to buy your tackle out in New Jersey. Most, like, you walk into Dick's, the selection's garbage. The people know nothing. Same thing with Walmart. There's very little saltwater. One day, I'm sure they're going to up their game. Us independents will have to up our game a little more, but we have a pretty solid, I'll say, industry up this way with independent tackle shops. New Jersey's got a set of core shops. We all get along and we all try to do our best. But
We're huge proponents of support your local tackle shop. These guys are the ones that go to battle for us recreational fishermen every single meeting. They go there, they fight for our rights, they make sure that we continue to have the rights to go out there and harvest fish and do what we love and keep this going. They're also the guys that are out there putting their heart and soul into this, catching the bait, rigging the gear, doing everything possible. If you ever have questions, go to your local shop, call Greg, reach out to these guys because these guys will tell you, like, hey, this is what people are catching on. We talk to people every day. This is the general area they're going, and this is what you have to do. Whether you're a new angler, an experienced angler, you're only as good as your intel, and it's critically important to maintain these shops along every coast and inland and everywhere you go, and just it's a source of knowledge that we wouldn't have if everyone continues to use like Amazon and stuff like that, because at the end of the day, Amazon and Walmart isn't going to the CCA meetings and stuff like that and fighting for people's rights to continue to do this stuff. So it's super important. Get out there, support these guys. They're great people along every coast, along every lake and bay and everywhere. It is critically important that we get out there and really show these guys support.
yeah, I appreciate that. I spend a whole lot of time at fishery meetings, preparing public comment before, circling back on my public comment and listening to other public comment, taking some notes and saying, "Hey, here's some ideas." Okay, open my mind to other people's opinions on things and different options that are put forth. And I'm on some advisory boards for the state. I've been fighting offshore windmills for years now, and I'm stoked to say
It's done.
we hit them pretty good. I won't say they're done yet, but we hit them pretty good. But yeah, man, back to the quantum thing. This $100 reel is better than any other $100 reel out there, and I bet you if they price this at 199, I bet you this would still be an epic value. But that being said, you got an aluminum handle. It's not like one of those little knobs screw in on the other side, like a chintzy little slide in kind of thing. If anybody's familiar with that, those are garbage reels. The threaded handle, aluminum, beautiful. Positive. There's very little play here. You really can't see it or hear it, but there's no play in the gears when I kind of give it a wobble. No gap here in the handle. It's super sweet, but all metal body. This does have the cheaper gear set. Does not have the machine gears. If you want to go to like a machine style gear, better quality, say brass set of gears in the bigger size. They do sort of like an alloy, actually aluminum in the smaller sizes. The Strive is their upgraded one. I'm sorry, Benchmark. But before I get into this guy, I just want to say that basically this one here has the classic drag that you would normally see in most, say, Penn spinning reels. Just a stack of drag washers. They do put an upgraded spring in the Benchmark, gives you a little better drag range, and they give you better gears in that one. Also, you get one extra bearing in that guy. But $100, I've been catching Tog on this thing, and for anybody that knows about Tog, they're like they're in the wrasse family. They're like a bulldog kind of bottom fish, and like even like little small ones that are only a couple pounds are known for like being tackle breakers. Whether they're chafing you off, getting snagged up in a wreck, you're breaking off because you're snagged with your weight or your jig, or you're cranking against a heavy weight all day as you're bringing up fish off bottom. Most time it's more of a tug of war. They don't like bite and take off like say a tuna if you're chunking where it's like scream and drag. It's more stress on say the gears and the bearings, and the bearings are what keep gears aligned. If anybody doesn't know, the body of a reel has your bearings on each side here, and then you've got your main gear, which is this way, and then your pinion, which is up here, and then those two, the gear comes together. Those two are held together like the mesh by the bearings, keeping everything together, and that aluminum body and that aluminum frame, the side plate, kind of keep everything aligned. And any kind of flex there, you start getting the gears from going like this to this, and you get them stripped out. If you use cheap gears, all of a sudden they become coffee grinders. $100 reel, fish it, say 2-3 seasons with Tog. A lot of times cheaper reels, they're coffee grinders. I don't know if you can hear this. Maybe this microphone in front of me like exacerbates the sound of it, but this thing's as smooth as butter in my hand.
Oh, we can't hear it at all. No, it's perfectly silent. It's beautiful.
You're like whatever 7 inches, dude, 8 inches from the camera, or I'm sorry, from the microphone. It's like literally right below the camera. But yeah, this is I think it's a 5,000 or 6,000. Yeah, I put this on a Magictail 7.6. I think it's rated 1 to 4. The rod, I think it's a medium heavy. Maybe it's 1 to 3. But this has got a 30-pound Cortland braid. I do everything with this reel, and it was literally this one was particularly given to me. I bought some too. I mean, Quantum's been working on some products where there's some new stuff coming out. We can talk about later. Can hint at them. But I bought some of these, and some were given to me. Like full disclosure, like yeah, I get free reels. Most tackle shops do get free reels, but like I'm not paid by these guys to like push them. Like my whole boat, I'm fishing these things. I've been fishing Penn forever. I got Stella's, Twin Powers. Just a heads up, every reel breaks. I mentioned every trolling motor breaks, every fishing reel breaks. I don't want to throw Stella under the bus, but dude, I had a brand new Stella my reverse went on a striped bass that was like 15 pounds. And a 15-pound striper is like a peanut at certain times of the season. And I'm like, really? And I also have some Stellas that I've caught 20, 30, 40 tuna on that never failed too. So like, I don't want to throw Stellas on the bus, but for anybody who's like a snob, who's like, I'm not fishing $100 reel, like, dude, these things are well worth it. And if you are looking for, say, the better gearing, you're looking for a little, say, tuned up drag, these are going to just produce a little more. Say, performance tuned version of that guy. Same body, same handle. Rather than black, it's got a little, say, gunmetal finish on it. I don't know how it looks in the camera. Got some little blue, say, accents. Maybe it looks a little sexy or whatever, but it's got a different spring in there. They call it a wave spring, little different. And then you got an EVA handle. So if you look at it on a computer screen, you're like, oh man, that's much lighter. Well, in all reality, dude, the gear's heavier, but because they take the weight off the knob, you think you're getting better gears, more robust gears, and you're getting a lighter weight reel. You can't get both. So you got to cut that rubber handle off. That handle's heavy, right? That's dense rubber. It might look like EVA, but that's a dense rubber handle. And then here you got an EVA knob. I'm not sure how that shows up, but they kind of like emboss it or engrave it with the Q, like the logo and all. But I like,
Now, is it the same knob for all sizes of that reel?
no, it changes. And I'm also showing like two models, two sizes, right? These are radically different reels. I fished this on my shop. I made some shop rods, some 7-foot inshore rods that are rated 1 to 3 ounce, a little softer action for casting lures. Like you were talking about the lures I was fishing, like SP minnows and stuff and bucktails. Made these cork grip rods. I don't know, probably did like 3 years now. Spent some time developing these rods just because like I want to be able to put a reel on a rod and say, man, here's like what I fish. And like there's awesome rods out from a lot of manufacturers, but it sort of gets challenging when I see a rod that's priced in the marketplace for $250 or $300, and I'm like, dude, like I can get that made better rather than 2 cent EVA. Like maybe you like EVA, cool. Certain rods I do too. But I could put some quality cork grip. I could put like a $25 cork grip handle on that thing, and I can retail this for 150 bucks. And there's some skin in it for me. I'm able to give a value to them. Like everybody wins. So I just did it. You know what I mean? I had to order 500 rods, but one.
And that's exactly why you want to support your local tackle shops because say you guys are like, "Hey, I'm in the market for a new rod or a whole boat set of new rods." You're able to reach out to Greg, talk to him over the phone if you're not local, go into a shop if you're local and be like, "Hey, this is what I'm going after. This is how I'm getting them. What do you suggest?" They have more rods than you could imagine at that shop and they can ship them right to you. You can go in and pick them up and then get you set up for exactly what you need because we see so many times new anglers going out. They're either too undergunned for what they're looking for or they're way overgunned. Like they're having like giant bluefin rods and they're like, "Yeah, I'm going to catch mahi mahi," and they got sold a whole boat set of 80 wides. And it's like this is this isn't what you need. And same thing with on the other hand, you have a bunch of guys with like TLD 20s and they're like, "I'm going for blue marlin." And it's like, "Oh, you're not going with that."
You're saying, it kind of had me smiling because I see it every day in the shop. People buy stuff online, whether they're buying off Marketplace, buying on eBay, buying off wherever, Amazon, or they go into a shop. And, one thing I could say I'm proud is like all my guys in the shop fish. Like one of the guys might not be like, "Hey, man, I'm not a big tuna guy," but he might know the back like waters in the bay and he might know the surf better than anybody. And then vice versa. The next guy, like I have a really diverse team at the shop, that they're dialed in with spool and reels, hollow core rigging, rod repair, the internals of say a Van Stall, which is more advanced reel, or say some international lever drags, 2-speed reels, some of the newer models, the older models, we're pretty dialed in. But I will say that I see often anglers come in with a small reel with really heavy line, or a big reel with really light line. Like I had a guy the other day, man, he had an 8,000, which is, anybody doesn't know reels, like this is a 5, like much bigger than this guy. And like I have 30 pound this guy had 20 pound braid on an 8,000 reel. Bro, he must have had, I'm guessing, 700 yards of line. Dude, he's going tog fishing on the jetty. And like, bro, you need maybe 50 yards at most. I'm not saying you should only put 50 yards on, but you're not, you could literally use a stick and 20 feet of line and you could rip them out of it. Like, bro, you got sold a bill of goods, man. Like you just got ripped off for $60, $80 in braided line that you did not have to spend. You know what I mean? Like basically, like I want to tell you, here's a bunch of spools. I'll break it up for you. Here's 300 yards, 300 yards, 300. Go put them on 3 different reels. But he got smoked because somebody wanted to sell him braid. They're like, "Oh, we got this guy. We'll bang him up." Like we don't roll like that. I also see all the time people buy online like a spinning reel on a conventional rod. Dude, it happens all the time. Guys come in like, "Yo, man, my casting's terrible. This doesn't really work that well. I'm having some trouble." A lot of times they have trouble with knots. Like, "Oh, I'm trying to learn this FG." I'm like, dude, like you got to walk before you can run, guy. Like, let's learn the uni knot. Like let's figure out the uni and the uni to uni. Or hey, maybe I'll teach you like a simple triple overhand, dude, like a surgeon's loop. Like I teach people loops, and they're like, "Holy moly, I can do so much with a loop." Like you can't tie a knot. Most people know how to do an overhand knot, right? So I teach people a lot of times that are like as green as it gets. Like I've never fished fighter, no knots. Like overhand? They're like no. Well, do this. Oh yeah, yeah, okay. Overhand knot, like how you start your shoes. It's literally a loop and through, boom. Well, if you do 3 of those, you know what I mean. You have a loop. You double your line, 3 overhand, triple overhand. It's a surgeon's loop, right? You can loop on something you have to get on there, a rig, you know what I mean? You could loop on a clip. Not saying that you want to do it, it's not the right way. It's the last way I do it. But if you can't tie a freaking knot, it will get you started. So it's like I see,
Can't tie a knot, tie a lot.
yeah. But I see all walks of life. People come in with these wild contraptions, and it's like, did you even pull test this? Like, who tied this? You pull it, just like everything unravels. You're like, dude, like, come on, man. Like, I can't send you out on the beach like that, or in a boat, or in a party boat. Like, we got to get back to square one here. So
I was in West Marine the other day, getting some flares for my boat, and I seen like these setups that they had, like selling complete setups, and it was like a TLD 15 or 20 on like an 80 wide full roller rod. And I was like, you guys are just setting somebody up, man.
rods laying around, right? And then the reels went on sale from Shimano or from a distributor, and they're like, "Yo, we got to gobble these reels up. We got a good deal. Like, we got to match them up with the combo. We're gonna put them on. Oh, we got too many of these." And they just probably slam them together. They don't care.
And that's why it's so important to go to these guys because you're not going to walk out of Greg's shop with anything like that or any decent tackle shop. They're going to make sure you have exactly what you need because they want you to go out there. They want you to catch. They want you to come back and tell them about your reports. And also, I forgot to mention, like, if you like how Greg talked about the reports earlier, you're in luck because he does daily fishing reports. You can hear it as often as you'd like.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't really go the daily thing, man. That would take up like my entire life. But I try my best to do a weekly report. Um, I post that at fishinglbi.com. That's a fishing report blog that I do. That's fishinglbi, which is short for Long Beach Island.com. That's basically a subdomain of my website. My main website's fishermansheadquarters.com. That's my tackle shop. Been around since 1962. Fishermansheadquarters.com. Actually, I just made a promo code for this podcast that I'll leave live for. There's no expiration date. We'll leave it roll. Going deep, right? Just GOINDEEP. Put that in the promo code little window checkout. Save yourself 10% off. But I'll say, yeah, if you want to hear my fish reports, fishingalbeit.com. I got videos I post up on YouTube, and I try my best once a week. I try to share a little bit about the weather, a little about the water temperature, so you can kind of put some pieces together to help you. It's not like spot A has striped bass and spot B has fluke. Everybody go flock to those two areas, and then those fish swim out of there. And Greg sent me there, and I didn't catch anything. That was never my gig. Without getting too into the weeds, maybe somebody wants to hear about it, maybe they don't. I got handed over a plate of fishery report responsibility when I was in college, and that was probably, I don't know, 15 years ago or more. I've probably been doing the reports for about 15 or 20 years. Um, and I started doing them just as text blogs. And then a couple years ago, my buddy was like, "Hey man, why don't you do videos?" So I used to walk around. You can go back to my early videos, like with my phone, and I'm like, like long arming it, walk around the beach or the dock, and people are like, "What the hell is this guy doing?" I'm like, "Hey, just like talking to my long arm." And then I finally switched over to like a little stabilizer, whatever DJI with a stick. I kind of look like a better fool, a more professional fool walking around. Um,
You can't tell, but Troy's actually holding
Does.
our camera up right now. His arm's under the table reaching it. Yeah. Yeah, he's really stable. That's why we have him on here.
don't forget about that promo code. Scratch that down for later. If you guys don't need something now, you need something later, check us out. And if there's something specific you need from any of the big manufacturers, we can order it, from Penn, Shimano. If we don't have it in stock, uh, whether we're talking big game reels, 30s, 50s, 80s, 130s, we probably have them in stock right now. And if you're looking for top quality spinning reels from Shimano, Penn, Daiwa, Certates and Saragosas and Stellas and Saltists and Authorities and Slammers and Battles, and those are just some brand names from a couple different manufacturers. I kind of flipped from Daiwa to Shimano, back to Daiwa, back to Penn, back and forth. We stock it all. We've been selling fishing tackle since 1962, and that's my plan to keep the dream alive.
So, what do you think is the biggest shift in the tackle industry right now? Are there any trends, or do you see anything that people are like hopping on board, or what's like the hot new thing? I know vertical jigging has taken the world by storm in the past couple years offshore, and anything else that you've noticed? I know maybe 5 years ago the flutter spoons came in for like the striped bass, and it was like everyone shifted to them.
Um, I'd have like a list that I would give you if you gave me these like questions beforehand, if I prepared for this. But off the top of my head, I would say the number one thing is technology. And I know that's kind of like an easy answer, but I could go into so many different areas with that, with rods, with reels, with like you're talking like electronics on a boat, chart plotters, sounders with live sonar. We talked about GPS anchors, trolling motors. Um, there's some like just upping the bar. There's new tackle coming out. I don't even say every year. It's like seasonal. It's unbelievable, and the bar continually gets raised, right? And so like this company A does something, company B is like, hey, we were doing something similar to that. These guys beat us to it. How can we do something better? And I think what that does is it raises the tackle world for experienced anglers that are into the higher end tackle. But really, more than that, I feel that it brings value or better value to that mid market tier. And what I mean by that is if you take a reel, and I'm grabbing $100 reel here, right? If this is a new $1,000 reel, and we just improved all these features to make it that flagship reel for my brand, and it's not my brand. I'm just making an example. I don't make reels. I sell them. When you make that, you have to have a gap between that and the next one down. And a lot of times there's an entry level, and there's a ladder, right? So if you raise that bar, a lot of times those features trickle down in the next year's tier two or tier three or tier four reel. So those performance tuned features start trickling down. And like for example, we can mention Shimano as a brand, right? The Stella's their, creme brulee. Well, dude, the Twin Powers now and the Saragosas now are badass reels. I mean, those things are decked out from A to Z. Like, you don't need a Stella to catch tuna anymore. At one time, it's the only thing that was dependable enough, you know? But dude, I've caught plenty of tuna, like some sizable tuna on my Gosas. On an 8K Gosa, I catch tuna all the time. Little yellowfins, 60 pounders, 40-pound yellowfin, jigging. You could jig all day with it, with a little reel like that. You start jigging with an 18K, like you're gonna work your elbow out, your arm out, your shoulder, your back, your upper back. It's gonna be throbbing the next day. Um, but to answer your question, technology. I gave a seminar over the winter, and I was also asked to go to Atlantic City Boat Show and give a seminar this winter, and it was focused around technology and fishing, and that's why I mentioned it. So it was sort of an easy way out. Like I said, you didn't give me the question beforehand to say like, here's a couple features from Dial or from Shimano. If you want me to get into the weeds with that, I could mention some stuff I know coming. Um, but what I shared was how I use technology on a daily basis, um, with my fishing trips and my charters, whether I'm fishing by myself or with clients, and kind of how I could share that with the audience of how they could use technology to help them out. And I could share a little bit about in a boiled down way of what I talked about, which was, you know, if you got the money, three, four, $5,000, put a trolling motor on. Now you can better position your vessel. Talked about that was sort of a chapter. Um, maybe you need to log things. I showed some apps that I use for weather, for tide, how I use photographs and how I use screenshots on my phone to screenshot an app. Tidegraph Pro, I'll screenshot my Tide app so I know at this time, here's the image of my Tide graph. And I take a picture of Nate with a beautiful fluke, or maybe a big tuna, or maybe it's a striped bass, whatever it is. I can now log that with a quick photo, with a quick screenshot, and I can look back on it when I get back. I can look back on it a week down the road, a month down the road. I can now today, right? I got a charter coming up, opening day of Fluke, and I can say, what did I do last opening week of Fluke last year, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, and I can all go through my photos using the app called Flashback, and I can pick a specific date, and it shows me all my photos from that date. And it's not only photos; it's screenshots too. So anybody who's kind of following along here, to me, it's my very valuable way of quickly accessing stuff. If you guys called me up today and like, yo, we want an awesome striped bass trip. When's the best time I could fish? I'm like, okay, well, when's the moon in early June? When's the moon in late May? Probably between those two moons, we'll have some good fishing in that 14-day, 2-week period of time. I got pretty good confidence that we'll have good fishing, the best fishing, the biggest fish we'll have in our waters in my area then. Okay, well, when? Well, like what day? Like I just can't pick one, but I can go back and say, all right, well, This was a couple days after the moon. This is a couple days before the moon. Oh, look, there was a weather pattern. We had a big storm, and it was awesome before that. That storm, everything cleaned out. It was like a reset. Oh, wow, all these fish moved in when the water temperature hit 58 degrees because I screenshot the water temp buoy. I screenshot the temp gauges, the tide gauges, which give me live tide, right? I screenshot the tide graph app, so I put it all together, and I can't like show my screen like I showed it at this seminar at the boat show, but that's something that I use frequently to help me on the water to prepare before the trip, but also make adjustments on the water during the trip to kind of say cross reference some things to say, hey, my mind is telling me I should be going here, but let me check out my quote unquote my data, my log. Dude, if I had a notebook, like the days of like, flipping through one of these, you're like, dude, forget about it. And
Take too much time.
you forget more stuff than you'll ever remember. So the screenshots help me. And I
I have a funny story about a notebook. Is one time we were going out fishing with Mike Benny. Shout out to Mike and his dad Carmine, who's an outstanding fisherman, lifelong fisherman. He's like 80 now, and bite was red hot for yellowfin at the AP. And we pull out there. The fleet is there. I mean, there were 150 boats in like a mile square, and Carmine is just like, "We're not fishing here today." And he whips out a black book out of his pocket, and he's just looking, just through historical catch data from him. And he's like, "Found them. I know where they'll be. They're going to be 5 miles over here." We drive 5 miles over, and the whole time we're like, "Yeah, like, there's no way. Like, this isn't like the bites at the AP. Everybody's been calling it the AP here for like the past 3 weeks. All the boats are there, like all the big guys, like all the charters and stuff in New Jersey are there." We pull up, and when we were passing the AP, everybody's like, "Oh, bites off. There's not many fish." We didn't have lines in the water for a minute before we were fish on. And I mean, we were limited out by 11, 12 o'clock in the afternoon, headed back, no boats around. And it's just like, oh, yeah, back in like 1981, the fish were here like crazy. In 1983, on this day, the fish were here like crazy. 99, they were here. And we just pulled up, and I was like, oh my God, Mike, I need to buy that book off your dad. Let me know how much. Let me know how much. I'll take screenshots. Just let me read it. I don't even need the book. Just let me go through with my camera for like an hour and a half.
Yeah, it's priceless. I got a shipwreck book here that my dad gave me that I cut all the pages out, and like it used to be like a spiral notebook, and I made it like a glossy. It's kind of like the lights kind of hit it off, but you can kind of see like I made like a regular binder,
Mhm.
dude, like that historical data, like it's got to live on. You know what I mean? Like that binder, he better not die with that thing. Like it's got to get passed on to his son, and he better hold that thing and cherish it because that stuff is like, I got brought up fishing a lot with this guy Uncle Mo Morris DeGenero, like the original Black Cloud. There's a number of people that call themselves the Black Cloud, but this guy was like the Black Cloud, like in the 40s and 50s. He was just a hardcore angler. He tuna fish, striper fish, like everything from inshore to offshore. But that being said, when I was a kid, he was taking fishing a lot, and he just knew like, when certain trees would bloom, like dogwoods bloom. I got a dogwood out in front of my house. Like when they're just budding, like he'd be like, "All right, it's time to start going. I don't care what the water temperature is. The fish will be here next week. They'll be here. Like go fish now." Like he was just dialed in, and there were certain spots that he would always just go like clockwork. Man, it didn't matter the weather. It didn't matter the time of day. It didn't matter the date. If those buds were starting up, man, he wanted to go out and he wanted to go pull bunker spoons on this lump over here, and he wanted to fish in this direction. He just did his thing, and he caught fish like old school pulling wire line, and just like some of those. I'll say that like the classic, like the history just kind of dies, when some of these people pass on. And I mean, now everyone's, hate to say it, a bunch of report chasers, and everybody's lives are so busy. Like we can't just spend the whole week taking off work fishing every day. I mean, I try to, it's the struggle's real.
Dante can.
Yeah, right. Yeah, Dante can. He's in the Bahamas right now, right? But it's something that I think is really valuable and is lost. The ability for people to go hunting And it's something that I feel that charter captains have to do because they're on the water all the time. Things change so fast, and yeah, you can follow trends. It's one advantage of being on the water often, and also being in a network. But it's a big ocean, and fish obviously move, and bites turn on and bites turn off quick. Once again, talking about technology, like you can mark fish, but sometimes they're not chewing. I think going back to my seminar, like those newer sonars, live sonars, whether it's freshwater, fish in the rivers, backwaters, or the omnis out, big game. Those live 360 sonars, like it's just game changing stuff. Um, but again, you still got to you got to be out there to catch them. Some people got to I guess some people have to listen to my reports to get juiced up. Like, oh, they're catching fish, let's go. And I try to bring people value, but sometimes it's just like, hey man, you got time? Go. You know what I mean? You can't catch them if you're on the couch. But
And I think, speaking of the fishing bite turning on, there is a big one that's about to turn on in New Jersey right now, and that is the inshore giant bluefin fishery. I know guys are chomping at the bit. I personally know guys that are putting in hundreds of miles in the past week trying to get these things. I did hear of one fish being caught offshore of New York, I believe. So it's fair to say they're here. It's just when do you think they're going to really start being caught like offshore in Barnegat area, off of Sandy Hook and those kind of areas?
it's probably going to happen up there first, if I had to guess. One, you got much more participation off, say, Monmouth County, off Rockaway. Don't want to be too general, but too specific at the same time. But there's some areas that fish hang. There's guys that are fishing hard up there. Some really good anglers that are just pounding it. They've also got a lot of bait. We don't really have the schools of bunker down this way that they have up there, but without getting too far into that, like it's got to happen soon. I personally haven't heard anything locally. I'll probably hear about it like days after it happens. I'm not in the say tight network of guys that are sharing when it happened that day with the text messages. I get some friends that text me on their texting services or sat phone services. They're like, "Yo, it's happening. You got to get out here." But I don't run a tuna fishing boat, so it's like something I don't need to know. You know what I mean? But for sure, I know like I know when the bite's on a couple days later because everyone starts piling and getting offshore gear. Everybody's always last minute to gear up. So those salty big game guys that are already grinding on it, like they deserve all the credit for putting the time in, finding the fish, working hard, and being prepared weeks and months before everybody else. And then obviously once the cat's out of the bag, all these other guys come and pile in and kind of trail them, trying to jump on the bandwagon, following them around, and really all they do is just jam up the bite. But that's kind of the world we live in nowadays.
And what do you see in most fish caught on? I know we personally lean towards these guys, the Magic Tail Outfitters, Who Magics, and the Joe Shoots. But I know there's tons of other lures out there. People are just slaying them on. What do you see guys coming in the shop buying when they're going out here looking for
I mean, for the guys trolling, like if you find fish that are schooled up, foaming on top, like feeding, like for the most part, I don't want to say this like disrespectfully. For the most part, like these fish on the feed, you throw something in front of them, not behind them, in front of them, they're gonna eat. Um, I was into the popping, say, midshore, inshore game, gotten some whatever saltwater sportsman articles 15 years ago. I don't want to toot my own horn, but like I was popping tuna when it wasn't a cool popular thing to do. Now every boat out there has got popping rods out the yin yang, and it is what it is. You go out there on a bite, and it's just boats driving over each other. It's kind of frustrating. But that being said, like this past fall was biblical, right? This past year was
them? Oh,
biblical.
yeah.
The troll bite though was happening more or less. Don't get me wrong, there was some awesome, epic, just full on foamer days, but the troll bite was really good because the fish were spread out sometimes. And when the fish are spread out and you got a lot of boats in the area, obviously a lot of boats, sometimes all you can do is chunk or jig, right? Because you're like hunkered in a spot. You can't move out of this fleet. That happens a lot in the summertime for us, where it's like you're there, you're like pinned in. You got nowhere to go. So chunking kind of is an effective way to do it then. But this fall, you had to cover some ground. Yeah, some days they were in the same spot, some days they weren't. But the troll weight was on fire, and really, I don't think there's a better way to fish than with a shoot, a Joe shoot or a Who Magic, a lantern style trolling lure, a heavier lead weighted. Those two are like the MVPs, really. And whether you're pulling a worm, a plastic rubber worm behind it, or if you're going to fish a ballyhoo, for the people that don't know how to rig a ballyhoo, I think the worm's the way to go because a improperly swimming ballyhoo is just going to spin. You might as well use sitting home. Um, Fish the worms if you don't know how to rig a ballyhoo, but a proper rig ballyhoo, I don't think anything can beat a shoot or who magic with a beautiful select bally, kicking behind it.
Is that what you're seeing most anglers buy are the selects, or are they buying larges, smalls?
Is like our number one bait for guys tuna fishing. I think one is the size. Two is there's only five in a pack. We do sell some horse, which are sold in 2 packs. I think people don't want a dozen baits. Like they're just going out to troll for a few hours. Do the morning bite, do the afternoon bite. It's these inshore bites. It's kind of like you can do it before work, after work kind of thing. It's not like an all day extravaganza. Like if you're going to the main canyons, going to the edge.
Seems like every guy I know is just like cutting out of work for like a week at a time, just out there all day. I don't really know anybody just doing it for 2 or 3 hours a day. They'll say that they are. They're just out there all
Catching a fish heading in, you know. But what I would say is we've got a beautiful delivery of Bait Masters Bally's right now. We just took delivery of the pallet last week. We order our baits in the wintertime, so we get those beautiful greenies. Good quality, clear eyes, beautiful packs from Bait Masters Ballyhoo that Ray's always given us awesome baits over the years. Um, Over the last say handful of years, Ballyhoo's been hard for us to get up this way. We struggle, and luckily we've been have some good relationships where we've had quality baits. But sometimes like hey, we order $6,000-7,000 worth of value and they only deliver us 2 grand. You're like, all right, well, what do you do? Like the guys that ordered cases ahead of time, I got to fulfill their orders. So who's left is the guys coming in wanting to buy a pack here and a pack there. Like I run out early in the season, so
Then it's time for the Ron Z's and the paddle tail. I know I was with Dante when we tested some paddle tails, and they outfished Ballyhoo the whole trip. On both of the trips we went, I mean, we're talking 5 to 1. He's actually releasing those. No, they're actually these paddle tails that he's making, and he's releasing them here in the next month or so. We're gonna do a whole episode on them, and we have tons of video of just fish coming to the boat. I mean, it was the first time ever. Like I always dreamed of like trolling in the dark and being a fit, like it being effective because we're always super early when we go out there and stuff. And we're always just like, oh, we overshot this by an hour or two, but better early than late. And first time in my life that we actually hammered the fish in the dark. Like, I mean, it was just unbelievably good. We outfished.
dark. You're saying morning. You're saying like after sunset,
No, I'm saying pitch black, both. Like, I mean, midnight,
or you're saying after dark? Because I've done really well trolling those plugs after dark. After sunset.
this was the entire night. Like, I mean, we were catching them at midnight. We were catching them at like 1 o'clock in the morning. Like, it was so hot of a bite on these paddle tail um shad kind of things that he made. They're not shads because they're not thick. And they were just incredible, man. Like, I've never seen something outfish ballyhoo.
You're just attaching a single lure, or it's behind something. It's like a
It's behind a Joe Shooter Magic Tail Who Magic. And I mean, we could not keep fish off them, man. During the day, at nighttime, like it didn't matter. Like we would have all ballyhoo in the spread and just one of these. Almost every single fish was on one of these.
You wonder if it had to do with the paddle tail kicking, because I feel like when a ballyhoo is rigged right and it's kicking, it's really got that beautiful swim, but you see it kicking. I feel like that vibration, and I don't, it doesn't have
I think that's what it is too, is because it was, like, so rhythmic and ran perfect, and, like, even though, like, literally one of the best guys in the game at running baits was doing it, like, for the ballyhoos, like, these things were out fishing it. Like, if it was like, I know how to rig a ballyhoo as good as the next guy, but, like, if it was me that rigged those ballyhoos, I'd be like, "Ah, maybe I just rigged some crap ones." But, like, when it's Dante rigging the ballyhoos, it's like, well, these things are running perfect every time, and these things just outfished them tremendously, man. Like, as soon as you can get your hands on them, like, let me know because we will tell everybody that we know. They need to reach out to you guys immediately because as soon as they're readily available, I'm lucky I have a box of them here, but as soon as they're readily available, I'm telling you, I'll never rig a ballyhoo again. Oh, yeah.
The kicking, because like there's like little striped bass lures that I feel kick a little more, that get way more bites. With tuna, sometimes it's those little things, that action, that vibration. We talked about colors before. Maybe it's that little color that sets them off, but these weren't like glow in the dark, or they weren't like some crazy colors that.
No, they were just, we had a couple colors of them that we were testing out, and it wasn't anything crazy, and, I'm telling you, man, I'll send you some. They are insane. He'll probably act like he doesn't know what you're talking about. He'll be like, "Wait another month, Greg." Wait he's like, "Let me get our fish on them first. Wait till tournament season's done, then we'll release these things."
Let me win a couple mil first, and then then
Yeah.
I'll then I'll talk to you.
It might be one of those things that after they're released, he's like, "Yeah, you know what? Like, we're not sending these out to the public. We're just keeping them for us." Oh, yeah, I know I asked him for some in a box, like, a while back, and, he ended up sending the box with, like, only 1 in it, and I was like, "This isn't gonna work for me. I need a whole box of these things, man, like, ASAP." And we ended up, like we were out fishing and we ran out of bait. We were just slamming the amberjacks and stuff here, and I hooked some up on just, like, um, some of the kill shots, like, just deep dropping for amberjacks and stuff. We were even killing those with it, and it was like like, groupers and all kinds of stuff. It was just incredible. They were catching everything. So, I'm telling you guys, like, you guys listening, probably even you bass guys out in the Midwest and stuff, as soon as these come out, get some, send me pictures of what you catch on them, because I guarantee you fish are gonna bite them. So going back to the quantum stuff, I know you mentioned they have some other exciting stuff coming out. Can you tease us on any of their other potential things or anything to look out for? It's really exciting to know that there's like an affordable option coming to the market that's still capable of catching tuna and all of these other great fish. And I know there's a bunch of guys that are looking to really dip their toes in this sport that are like, "Hey, I'm not really ready to spend $1,000 on a spin reel, especially when I'm primarily trolling." And this really gives them an option to get into like jigging and popping and stuff like that.
So what I'll say is, these guys that came over from the other brand are really going for blood. The blood's in the water. These sharks are ready to chomp down and finish this deal. So um, you've got kind of two reels now, right? You've got the Strive at 100 for the most part, and the other benchmarks is under 200. And they really went for those two price points to reach the mass market. And if you look around, not every Tom, Dick, and Harry shop sells them. So that's another thing. They're trying to do like limited. Let's say limited, but every shop's not going to have them. You're not going to see them all over the place. And for right now, they're not selling direct. They're supporting their independent shops, which is awesome. But you know, they really wanted to make their robust reel, which is machine gears, all metal body, right? The next one's coming out. It's going to be more a lighter weight spinning reel. And I don't want to go too far down the road there, but if you look at other brands and you compare this to them, there's other reels on paper on a computer screen that say an online shopper would see, or someone in a shop would pick up and be like, hey, this reel feels awesome, but it's a little bit on the heavy side. They didn't want to come out with a lightweight reel off the gate. I don't want to compare it to other manufacturers and other brand names, but I don't want to come out bring out like this style A or this style B and have the reel break down over time. They wanted to come out with more of a diesel beefy reel that's going to last, to kind of bring back that awesome name that they had in durability in the Cabo and the Boca series from yesteryear. If they came out with the Smoke again, which was a lighter weight reel, next thing you know, saltwater guys are going to do a little bit extra with that than it's designed for. They'll be tog fishing with it, stripping out the gears, bass fishing, stripping out the gears. Maybe down the south, bigger tarpon or bigger, snook or bigger redfish, stripping out stuff. Or you're talking about amberjack, right? So they wanted to come out with a bigger, beefier reel. So somebody who's looking for, say, an amberjack reel, or say, maybe tarpon, snook, I'd be looking towards the benchmark. That's the reel you want to be looking for. Um, the new reel that's gonna be coming out, I don't want to put the cat out of the bag, but they're bringing possibly the older name back. There's only two that I mentioned, so you might see one of those names come back. There might be a new name, right? But from what I've heard, the market research tells that those names were awesome, have nothing but really, really good reviews behind them and lots of good memories that bring people back to like, hey man, the confidence I had in that reel, which was it was affordable and it caught a ton of fish and lasted. Like it worked, it performed great. That's what I want again. So they might bring the name back. I'll leave that at that. But they're also working, and I'm been somewhat closely working with them on this more so than that lighter spinning reel. Is a baitcaster. So people have heard the Accurist from Quantum is one of the best selling reels they've had. It was for the most part really designed as like a freshwater reel. I don't want to say it's an exclusive freshwater reel, but there wasn't anything like over the top that was like this is really specific for the saltwater market. This Accurist is really a great saltwater bait caster. Now, a couple of videos got posted, a couple say higher influence, accounts got a hold of the Accurist, did their thing with it, and it boomed. And the Acros is like the most in demand little bait caster at $100 that probably has ever crossed this earth. Um, they're redoing it. Don't want to break the news, but it's getting redone, and it's gonna have because Quantum is coming out and they're rebranding all of their stuff is salt water. Anybody that's a freshwater Quantum fan, unfortunately, you're going to be kind of bummed out. Like they're not going down that road anymore. There's other brands under the family of say brands or companies. Rather Outdoors owns Quantum, right? Rather Outdoors also owns Lose. I think they own Strike King. I don't stock those brands, but there's other brands there. If you look at Rather Outdoors, I think they're down your way in South Carolina. I think they're in Columbia, South Carolina.
Yeah, Columbia. It's about an hour outside of here. So, Quantum, reach out to us. We want to push your stuff. We want to talk to your reps. Get them on the show.
So I'm sure they will. And they fish too, which is great. It's not like there's a bunch of pencil pushers that are like, "Hey, we're just going to go look through a catalog and order these 1,000 of these and 1,000 of those." Like they actually fish and they're like developing and designing and marketing, new tackle.
Well, come on out and fish with us, Quantum. We're calling you out. We know where the fish are. We'll put this stuff to the test. Yeah, we know where the amberjacks are. We had a 60 pounder the other day. That'll put one heck of a pounding on that reel. And if it can land a 60-pound amberjack, it can land probably almost anything else out there. Oh, yeah. We we caught a monster on like a 50 wide one day. And like, we were like, Did we just hook like a huge yellowfin down here in Charleston? Like, yellowfins are long gone here. Like, people haven't really been catching them here lately, but it was like, "Oh my god," like, we caught something huge here. We're, like, fighting it. We get to the boat, and it was a amberjack dated DTX, but it was a beast, man. It was like, "Oh my gosh." Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, I caught some amberjack jigging down Outer Banks a few winters. It's fun fish when the tuna fish was slow. We got on top of some structure and did the old speed jigging thing.
Almost any time on our run back, if we have any extra energy, like, if we aren't already whipped by, like, swordfish or wahoo and stuff, it's like, "Okay, we're swinging by, getting some amberjack, showing them that we still got it." Putting them on notice.
Are they? I don't know anything about them.
Some people eat amberjacks. I have a guy, that was actually
Up here, like they're edible. Some people like them, but some people,
I wouldn't say that. I would say I would eat a bluefish before an amberjack and probably not on a delicious stance. They all have worms. Like, they are loaded to the gills with worms, but people that eat them love them. Like, they swear by them. I have a guy that'll drive 2 hours out to me to get any amberjack that I have. So I'll keep some for him, but I've yet to cut one open and not have at least 100 worms in it. Like, it's disgusting, like, huge ones.
too.
Yeah, like, I mean,
Yeah.
they're just loaded, and they're like the size of earthworms, man. I just can't get over it. And they say they're not harmful to people and you can still eat them and stuff, and hats off to you guys that do. I just can't. Like, they're and every year, it's the same thing. They're such a beautiful fish. They're such a fun fish to catch. They're prevalent everywhere. You get a monster to the boat, you're like, "You know what? I'm taking this home. I'm gonna roll the dice and see if it's got worms." And then you cut it open, you're like, "I'm gonna eat the part that doesn't have worms." Every part has worms. And then you're like, "Yeah, now I just gotta trash this 40, 50-pound fish." And then a couple months goes by, and it's like, "Hey, I caught this other beautiful amberjack. Let me see what's up with this." Same thing. And, like, I mean, years of your life go by because they're huge. Like, imagine, like, a 50-pound striped bass, but you're allowed to keep it. And it's like, "Oh, there's tons of them. 'em. We're catching a bunch of them. 'em. They're beautiful. The meat's
If
beautiful and white." Yeah, yeah. And the meat looks like it would be delicious if it didn't have worms, but everyone is just loaded with them, man. I mean, you catch a 40-pound amberjack, it's got 3 or 4 pounds of worms in it easy.
oh, it's gross. I know some of the black drum we get here, they get wormy. We got some drum up this way. I assume you get drum down your way too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we have a lot of red drums here. We still have black drums as well, but red drum fishing here is
You
tremendous.
need to send some of them up our way. We get very, very few in like the summer and fall. We'll have a couple.
I heard down towards Atlantic City, it's starting to pick up more.
Uh, yeah, I mean, we definitely the black drum has been much much better the last couple of years in the spring, and they hang around for the summer, and then they kind of for some reason they book out of here. I don't know where they go, what they do. I don't really know the first thing about them other than they show up in the spring around the moon in April, and they stick around for a moon phase or two. Give it a month. I don't know, maybe sometimes 2 3 months, depending how good the run is. And there's some boomers here now, like some really big drum. Probably see some of the photos going around and whatnot.
Now, one thing I want to ask, are there any kind of products that you guys are looking to stock? Like if someone comes out with a new innovative product, are they able to reach out to you and be like, "Hey, I would love to talk to you about this, getting it in your shop or anything like that?" Or you guys pretty much have everything you're looking for? Like, are there any holes that you see in the market where it's like, "Hey, this is ripe for the taking. We would love to see more of this kind of stuff coming out."
Um, I would say I'm always looking for new products. Right? There's the market's saturated with products. The market's saturated with dealers. And if there's any way I can get a new product that isn't the same old, say, trick, just knocked off in some way, that's going to eventually have a growing demand, put me in the game. I'm interested. Can always try something once, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But yeah, I mean that's why I go to ICAST. That's why I go to the tackle shows to see what's going on. I try to talk with our charter captain, see what they're doing. Try to bring some freshwater tactics to saltwater, and some West Coast things to East Coast, and East Coast things to West Coast, and kind of see what's going on in Florida and see what's happening in Texas and the Gulf, and kind of pick up little pieces here and there. But there's a lot of smaller brands nowadays that are innovating tackle. So like, the industry's changing that way where somebody can cook something up in their garage and become a massive brand without getting into the weeds with that. I would say that something that I really see once again going back to the discussion before is technology in fishing. Like electric reels have come a big way. And I mean, Daiwa's kind of been like the king of it in the smaller sizes, and they've been kind of running with that. And I mean, Shimano's been kind of bringing in some of their JDM stuff and kind of building upon their lineup. And I mean, LPs have always had like that big game on lock. And there's like the hookers that Penn bought, and now Penn and Hooker together. They're both under Pure Fishing's brand. So now they're kind of doing their thing. And um, you know, I just see like with the jigging thing, and they're like you don't have to use it for jigging, but like I see like guys that you talk about mojos. Like I could see like some of these smaller electric reels being used for trolling bunker spoons and trolling mojos for striped bass. And it's like, hey, go push that button up, bring that line up, bring that one up. And it like you can stagger them and set them back, and like honestly, like it takes the fun out of it. It might make it more fun that like technology helps you out to better, accomplish different tasks without
Especially for, like, older anglers, people that are disabled, stuff like that, really keeps you in the game a lot longer. Going with electric reels, we have a surprise for you. In 2 weeks, we're having the brand new Kobo reels come on. They're a new to the market electric reel that has removable spools like an LP, 100 pounds of drag, Texas, built in the USA, and these reels are incredible. They're testing them all over. I know there's captains out of Charleston using them, catching 300-pound swordfish, and these reels are just great. They switch from 12 volt to 24 volt by themselves, just sensing what they're plugged into, and They're pulling dredges of all sizes and doing all the same great stuff at a much smaller package. And we're excited to talk to these guys in the next 2 weeks. And I'm happy to get you in touch with them as well. Same with
I'm out. What's the name of them again?
Kobo, Kobeo Fishing. And same with all of our listeners. If you're a charter captain, if you're a industry professional that creates some kind of product that's new or innovative or tried and true, reach out to us. We're happy to have you on the show and showcase what you're doing. We want to touch on all aspects of saltwater fishing, showcase the best of the stuff we have available, and really let our listeners know what's out there, what they can use, how they can use it, and how they can really benefit from all this knowledge because no one learned all this stuff alone. We were lucky enough to learn from really experienced people, and I'm sure Greg was the same way. And we want to break the stigma of like the old salty fisherman that doesn't want to share spots and doesn't want to share information because it's so incredibly expensive to go out there and do this stuff, and it's so time consuming. And anything that we can do, we may not give you specific areas like go to this GPS coordinate, you'll get them, but if we can give you a couple pieces of the puzzle and you can get on your boat and go out there and team that up with like reaching out to Greg and being like, "Hey, what gear do I need? What rods are going to work perfect for this? What reels are going to be ideal?" And then you use the other information from the other guys we talked to, and you're able to put together 90% of your plan and go out there and really put together a trip and shorten the learning curve significantly and save yourself money and time and effort and frustration. And that's exactly why we do this. And why we want to showcase these excellent people in the industry that put their heart and soul into this every day and really care about not only the fishery but the people out there doing it. And that's why I reached out to Greg. There's no finer fisherman in the land and no better shop than Fisherman's headquarters and fishermansheadquarters.com, where you can get everything that you need. And if you have any questions at all, reach out to Greg, reach out to his team, ask them those questions because these guys are happy to help you. They're not going to cut you down. They're not going to be like, hey, that's a stupid question. They're going to answer it truthfully. They're going to let you know. It doesn't matter if you're fishing in Florida, if you're fishing in New Jersey, if you're fishing in Maine. I mean, probably even if you're fishing in like a lake in Arkansas, these guys can help you. So you're not like throwing a bobber out there with like a bass worm on it, wishing for a fish. They can at least get you in the game and have the opportunity to get it because we all see these people all the time that have good intentions and just don't ask questions and go out there and just are doing the wrong thing, and you just walk past and you're like, well, that guy's not getting anything, like no matter what, because he's got a spin bait on and a bobber. And anything that we can do to really get people enthusiastic about the sport and love it is really the core of like what we do, what Greg does, what every charter fisherman does, and person in the industry. Like we just love seeing people enjoying the sport, catching fish, having a good time, and sharing it with their friends and families.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys. It's the old saying, 10% of the anglers catch 90% of the fish. I think will always hold true. Maybe it's changing a little bit. There's a lot of, say, new ways to get information nowadays quicker, and YouTube videos. You can learn just about anything from, working on your vehicle to fixing something around the house to learning, say, a new technique or new fishing ideas and stuff like that. But something we've always held ourselves true to is our kind of our slogan, helping anglers catch more fish since 1962. Like that's our goal. You don't have to come to Fisherman's headquarters to buy all your tackle. You can buy something somewhere else and come to me with your problem and say, "Hey, man, I got issues. Like something's not working, or I don't know what I'm doing." And I can help you put the puzzle pieces together. My whole team. That's what we do every day. It's what we've been doing for decades. So, I appreciate you guys bringing me on here and asking some questions, and going down that road of the fishing, knowledge and sharing some things, and we all learn from each other. That's how we grow.
Yeah, and thank you for coming on. If you don't mind, give us a rundown. What city? What's the name of your shop? Where can they reach you? Website address, charter. Let's do it.
So once again, I'm Captain Greg Cudnick, 100-ton master's licensed out of Barnegat Light, fish out of Barnegat Inlet. That is in the north end of Long Beach Island. The state is New Jersey. Now, the city is actually Ship Bottom, like a ship that would sink on bottom. That's what happened. To big ships sank out here, so they called it ship bottom. It used to be called Beach Arlington. I think Beach Arlington sounds a little better. Ship sometimes sounds like shit, and people are like, What town?" So Long Beach Island, New Jersey, is not like a place you're going to write down as an address. It's like a general area. So the town we're in is Ship Bottom. Fisherman's headquarters, bait and tackle shop. We're located on the causeway. So if you're driving to LBI, we're right when you enter after the first traffic on the right hand side. You can find us locally. We're open 7 days a week, open 365. We're open all year long in the winter time. You can also shop online, fishermansheadquarters.com. Catch us on Instagram. We're Fisherman's Headquarters there. Catch us on Facebook. Once again, Fisherman's Headquarters there. I have a Facebook group called Fishing Reports, Tips and Tricks with Fish Heads. You can join that group. Love to have you there. Share a fishing picture or question or something like that. YouTube, Fisherman's Headquarters there as well. So we try to keep the theme alive. It's like Fisherman's Headquarters. We go by Fish Heads. It's just the logo on the hat. It's like just a slang term. People just call us Fish Heads. Like you hear customers in the shop talking on the phone. Okay, what are you doing? Y'all, I'm at Fish Heads getting some tackles. So people down south may heard of Fish Heads of Stewart. That's our boy Brent. He used to work for us years ago, and when he opened up a tackle shop down there in Stewart, Florida, he kind of paid homage to his roots working at our shop for decades before he got into the tackle industry, working for manufacturers, and then jumping back to the retail side of things. So shout out to Brent at Fish Heads of Stewart. That's kind of not really associated, but we're somewhat associated, different businesses, but we're buddies. Yeah, my charter service is Fish Head Charters, licensed once again out of Barnegat Light. You could look up Fishhead LBI or Fishhead NJ.com, or if you just Google Fishhead Charters, you'll come up my website. You could find me on there, and stoked to get anybody hooked up. The next time they're going out fishing, whether I'm taking fishing or if you're going fishing on your own, you need some bait and tackle.
And I can tell you, I fished with Greg. It's more like catching with Greg. Like you're gonna go out there, you're gonna have a tremendous time. He's got a great boat, he's got awesome gear, and he's got more knowledge than he could possibly have without working at a tackle shop his whole life. This guy is dedicated, one of the best captains out there, great time, wealth of knowledge. And I want to thank you, listeners and viewers, for tuning in. Every week it's growing, and we're really pumped to have you. All you guys along the coast, everyone in Middle America and overseas, you guys are awesome. Reach out to me with questions anytime. If you want to be on the show, email me, deepwaterlegends@gmail.com. We're happy to have you. We want to showcase your skills, we want to showcase your products. Just let us know. And thank you to Magic Tail Outfitters for donating gear for us to give away. And thank you, everyone, and we'll see you next week.